City Council chamber before the meeting.
April 10, 2013. My name is Marjan. I'm the hearing officer and the permit process manager in the Community Development Department. Before we begin, I would like to announce that there is a change in the order of the cases that will be heard today.
Oh,
The applicant
disgusting.
for case 2D has requested to be the first case to be heard. Normally, I don't change the order of the cases in the hearing. However, on occasion, if it doesn't create a negative impact, we do consider it. So this case was scheduled to be the last one, and I understand the applicant has time constraints, so they have requested to go first. I don't have a problem with this change, so we'll go ahead and go do that. The agenda, the staff report, and other material to be used in the hearing today are located on the table next to the entrance door. If you haven't turned in your speaker card or statement card, please do so. If you wish to speak on a particular case, you need to fill out a gray speaker card, and if you just want to register your support or opposition, please fill out a statement card, an orange statement card. We're going to have staff available from Community Development Department and Police Department. I believe that's it. To answer questions, if we have any legal questions, we have an attorney available. So at this time, this hearing is being conducted in order to provide an opportunity for everyone who wishes to bring forth relevant information pertaining to the cases to be heard. All testimony today is tape recorded, and even though we're in the chambers today, this is not a videotaped proceedings. Tape recorded and written summary notes of the meeting are prepared as record. In keeping with the standard city policy for public hearings, please no loud talking or disruptive behavior in the chambers. It is also requested that all cell phones be put in silent mode. After all the testimony on the case has been provided, it is my role to render a decision on the request. I'll be considering the testimony, the reports provided by staff, other information and documents that are submitted and applicable to city regulations and policies in making my decision. My decision may be appealed, and I will advise the interested parties of their appeal rights at the end of each hearing. The applicant or the principal representative of the applicant will have 15 minutes to speak regarding their application. Other speakers are limited to 3 to 5 minutes, depending on how many people are participating in the speaking. For the Hooters hearing, I think we're going to be limited to 3 minutes each, and the other ones, the other hearing speakers will have 5 minutes. After everyone has testified, the applicant or the representative will have 5 minutes for rebuttal. After that, I will close the hearing and proceed to a decision. When called to speak, please come to the microphone and state your first and last name and city of residence prior to speaking. So I think we've covered everything. So I will now ask Ms. Hodrell, our recording secretary, to open the first public hearing, which will be case 2D. Mr. Hodrell?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item case SUMN 2012-70552, applicant T-Mobile West LLC, request to allow replacement of existing antennas of similar size at an existing wireless communications facility. Location 3050 East Hillcrest Drive.
Okay, the planner for this project is Associate Planner Mr. Will Chua. Good afternoon, Mr. Chua. Can you please provide your report on this case?
Good afternoon. For your consideration this afternoon is an application to upgrade an existing wireless communications facility, which comprises of replacement of several antennas and installation of new support equipment. All portions of this wireless facility that will be upgraded will be hidden from public view. Now, during the notification process, staff received one letter of opposition expressing concerns on safety coming from the antennas. The Telecommunications Act of 1996 precludes states and local agencies from denying wireless facilities based on safety concerns. So basically, the city does not have the authority to deny this project based on safety concerns alone. The project was evaluated in accordance with the city's wireless standards for and guidelines for installation of wireless facilities. The project complies with the standards, and staff is recommending approval of said project.
Okay, thank you. I don't really have any questions right now from staff, so we will hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. And I have Mr. Jesse Gillum. Please state your name, last name, and city of residence for the record.
Good afternoon, hearing officer. My name is Jesse. Good afternoon, hearing officer. My name is Jesse Gilham. I work for Consumer Development Services, located at 867 East Front Street, Suite A, Ventura, California, 93001. Here today representing T-Mobile West LLC in regards to project to replace equipment on existing wireless telecommunications facility. Thank you, Mr. Chua, for his help on this project. Also for his help throughout the years on various wireless projects. Project is very straightforward. There's a rooftop with existing antennas on the top, which are screened from view. The proposal is to remove those 6 antennas, install 6 new antennas, which are substantially the same size as the existing ones, which will remain behind the screen, the screens atop the rooftop, and will remain completely screened from view. Here to answer any questions that you may have, and to have an opportunity to address any concerns that anyone else may have in the public. And T-Mobile did request that I read it to record along with the documentation submitted upon the original submittal, that T-Mobile's opinion that this site is an eligible facility under TRA 6409, which states, for the federal statute signed into law February 2nd, 2012, and states that notwithstanding Section 740 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, Public Law 104, or any other provision of law, a state or local government may not deny or shall approve any eligible facilities request for modification of the existing wireless tower or base station that does not substantially change the physical dimension of such tower or base station. And it was one of my opinion that was qualified as a base station facility. Here, answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. You will have a chance for a rebuttal after we hear from the next speaker, if you wish to raise your hand. I have Frida Brock.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm just the neighbor of this facility at 3061 East Hillcrest Drive, Westlake Village, California, 91362. I live directly across the street, and I think that there is concern with antennas, whether they're on the roof or inside the facility, as a health risk, and cell towers and such. So I question it, and if someone would like to prove to me that it's other than risky or hazardous to one's health, I'd be interested in hearing that. And that's my concern, because this is a residential right directly across the street from this facility.
Okay, thank you.
And there's 50 of them.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to go to staff now for any comments.
clarification, the Telecommunications Act of 1996 has set the standards for wireless communications facility. If a particular site complies with those standards, then the city's hands are tied as far as denying it based on the concern. That's all I have. That's all I need to say.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to go back to Mr. Gillum if he would like to come for a rebuttal. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I would like to confirm that the existing facility with the existing antennas as well as the proposed facility after the modification is completed will completely abide by the FCC standards for emissions.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions. I'll go ahead and close the hearing. Thank you for coming down here. We had 2 speakers only for this case, which afforded us the ability to have them go first. From a health and safety standpoint, as you heard from Mr. Chua and probably from the recent city council meetings on similar issues, local agencies have very limited power when it comes to wireless facilities. If the project is in compliance with FCC regulations, and this project definitely seems to be per city's wireless consultant and expert, then we at the city level are required to approve the project or otherwise go through potential legal ramifications. Therefore, I move to approve case number SUMN 2012-70552. Any party who wishes to appeal this decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 days, calendar days. The fee for appealing the decision to the Planning Commission is $1,115. Okay, Ms. Fadrou, could you please call the next case?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 2A regarding case SUMN 2013-70017. Applicant, Thousand Oaks Wings LLC, Hooters. Request to expand the on-site sale of alcoholic beverages from beer and wine to full alcoholic beverage service. Location, 401 North Moore Park Road.
Thank you. The project planner for this case is Senior Planner Lori Young. Good afternoon, Ms. Young. Could you please provide your report on the case?
Yes, good afternoon. A special use permit, minor mod, was filed by the applicant to expand the on-site sale of alcoholic beverages from beer and wine to full liquor license. The applicant is not proposing any other changes. There will be no changes to the building, elevations, site plan, floor plan, or any operating hours. The applicant has been operating at the location at Jan's Mall since May 2012 and has been serving beer and wine as under the original conditions of the SGP. The applicant filed a similar minor mod application in, I think it was July 2011, and requested a full service bar at that time. The request was approved at an administrative hearing in September 2011, and this decision was appealed to the Planning Commission, but the applicant withdrew the application before the hearing was scheduled. So they ended up opening the restaurant and serving just beer and wine. Since its opening, staff has not received any complaints regarding planning or code compliance issues. The police department has advised staff that the number of calls for service is low in comparison to similar establishments. Today we have Mr. Tim Bowman from the police department, and he's here and available to answer any questions. Staff has determined that the applicant's restaurant is compatible with the surrounding commercial uses and other uses in the Jan's Mall. Residential area, the closest one is about 770 feet away from the subject building. Furthermore, there are other restaurants in the Jan's Mall and within a half mile that have full liquor licenses. There are 5 restaurants in the Jan's Marketplace that have a full liquor license and 11 restaurants within a half a mile of the building. For these reasons, staff is recommending approval of SUNN 2013-70017, subject to the findings and conditions of the statute.
Okay, great, thank you. Now we will hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. I have Adrian Oka. Are you representing Hooters? Please come to the microphone. You'll have 15 minutes. Please state your name, last name, and city of residence.
Yes, ma'am. I'm actually Rick Loikert. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and Operating Partner for Hootwink LLC. We own and operate 18 Hooters restaurants in 3 states. And as before, we withdrew our application before simply because of the appeal, and we wanted to do the right thing by the city and the members of the community to just show them that we're good community members. To my knowledge, we've actually only had 1 call directly related to the facility itself, and at that point in time, we cooperated fully with the police, and if I'm correct, well, I am correct, absolutely nobody was overserved. We did a full investigation. There was one other time that we called the police, but it had nothing to do with our facility. I think that they'll attest to that. We just did it to be a good community member. We want to make sure that everything stays safe just like everybody else does. I think that we've proven that we operate on a little higher level than some of the other companies out there, and we would just respectfully request that we could approve and grant the right to sell full liquor. And it only accounts for about 8% of our business, so it's not like it's an astronomical amount. Currently, the mix there is about 25% beer and wine and 75% food. We are absolutely a restaurant and believe that we should have the right to sell liquor like every other restaurant in the Jan's Mall. Thank you.
Thank you. So is Adrian not speaking, or no?
I don't believe he's here, ma'am.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. I don't have any questions or anything. Okay, we will now go to other speakers. You will have 3 minutes, please. Okay, we'll go to Mr. Nick Kidway, followed by Rick Luker.
No overhead?
I'm sorry?
No overhead? It's just not on. I really need that, please. Could the timer be adjusted, please, because you only have 3 minutes. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me speak. I believe in the name of God, who's most beneficial, who's merciful. My name is Nick Kidway. I'm a director of Concerned Citizens of Thousand Homes for the city for 20 years, and I spoke at the last hearing. Because time is limited, I would ask staff, even the monitor to work. So it's not like a council meeting. So I don't know if the staff can show the overhead. This is a letter from City Manager Emeritus Grant Brimhall and his wife saying that it is the obligation of the city to council to set the policy, and it's unfair to the hearing officer and other bureaucrats to have to weigh in on this. And he also goes on to say that the Jan's Mall is a family-oriented place, and something like Hooters should not be allowed. Please Well, I guess the people can't see you over here, so. Don't be like the mullahs from Iran, and make a decision without consideration. Stop, I have $1,400 rip-off, it's $1,150, you said, the price is going up of the appeal. It was paid before, that is really not proper, and the fee had been waived, and in fact, my suggestion is that you should really plead the fifth and say that this is above your pay grade. There's the president bowing to a governor. And it is really above the pay grade of the hearing officer because you're not allowed to look at the other testimony. And your hands are tied, and you said the same thing in the hearing in 2011. So I would request that you do it, make a change and say that you are able to vote on, to make a determination on this because you do not have the power and the authority to weigh in on the facts that the people will present as well as the package that you have. I have read it and I hope you have read it. Plus I have read these 700 pages of emails from the last hearing. You are not allowed to look at it, and it is not fair to the citizens of this community to have to put them through a ringer again and have to go through the three-step process. Actually, it's a fourth step. This is the second step that we are. The Planning Commission also has no right. So the City Council really has an obligation and a duty, and they are honor-bound by their oath of office. This is not the Iranian Republic with the Ayatollahs making government. I don't care if they vote against me, but they need to vote on it, and we don't need to go through the ringer twice. I'm usually trying from work, other people have come over here and other people cannot come. And it's really sad that the City Council did not allow the chief televising of this project. I ask again humbly in closing that you hunt on this, that's the football term, I hope you know, and don't vote yes or no and ask City Council to intervene on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Rick Luker, followed by Amber Herman.
Already went earlier, so I'm Amber Herman. I reside in Oceanside, California. I am the Human Resources Director for Hooters. We're Hooters LLC, which runs the 18 Hooters restaurants, including 1,000 Swings. I have had an opportunity for the past year now to work with the men and women that are working at the Hooters location. It's a great group of people. They love the store, they love the community. In fact, just today they were expressing to me that they have been very grateful for the opportunity to work at Hooters and the flexibility that we provide them, being able to go to school, take care of their families, and work flexible schedules. And so they appreciate having Hooters in the community. We've also received a lot of community support as well as opposition, and I definitely respect everybody's right to object to any business, either locally or with your dollar by patronizing other businesses and choosing not to go to Hooters. And we just hope that people respect our right to operate the business. And most of the people that are protesting this liquor license is a matter of protesting the concept of Hooters as opposed to what's actually involved in the liquor license. And there's no actual legal reason to object to this amendment. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Stevenson, followed by Pat Hendrickson.
Hello, I'm Jack Stevenson. I'm the general manager for Hooters here in Thousand Oaks, and I just wanted to come here today to allay any fears that there might be in the community that things would change with the addition of the liquor license. We've been open for almost a year now, serving beer and wine. We train our staff intensively on how to recognize people who have imbibed too much alcohol. Furthermore, with the exception of being granted a full liquor license, we will have all of our girls fully ABC trained, as was requested by the police department. We already cover that type of training in the basic server training classes, but we will intensify that with the addition of full alcohol service. I also wanted to mention that a gentleman came into the restaurant about a week ago and told me about the public hearing that was taking place. And at that time, we decided that we would start a petition of our own, and in a matter of a week, had garnered over 450 signatures of people that would like us to have full alcohol service and see no legal reason why our restaurant, which is within a couple hundred feet of other restaurants that are serving similar food, are able to, serve a margarita with their chicken wings versus a beer, and what the substantial difference is. As Amber mentioned previously, we don't think that the objection is to the actual alcohol service, but to the concept itself. And really, the way to vote on that, as in any capitalistic system, don't come in. We're not forcing people to come into the restaurant. We are not directly in Jan's Mall. We are out in the farthest point of the parking lot of Jan's Mall. So anyway, once again, we'd just like to allay any fears that our service style will change with the additional full alcohol, and we will continue to be a good member of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat Henderson, followed by Lloyd Hopper.
My name is Pat Hendrickson. I've been a resident of Thousand Oaks for 45 years. I've watched this city grow from a place where we all reached out and embraced our neighbors to a town where it seems we're busy judging our neighbors. Everything I have to say has pretty much been said by others. Jan's Marketplace already has restaurants serving liquor. Sunset Terrace, by the way, is directly right across from the movie theater where children come and go, and I've heard no objections to that. As far as I can tell, the only moral issue here is whether any business should have the same rights in this city as any other business. Thank you.
Thank you. Lloyd Hopper, followed by Claudia Brock.
My name is Lloyd Cochran. I've been in this city before the city existed, so I've been here for quite some time. I've raised my 4 kids and most of my 8 grandkids in the same town. And I don't see why we would make a decision based upon some immoral or moral decision. This is not a moral decision. It's whether the place has the same right as any other places to serve liquor. And the answer should be, of course it does. There is no reason not to do that. And to make this a moral decision doesn't make any sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Claudia Brock, followed by Mike Brock.
Yes, I'm Claudia Brock. I've lived in the city of Thousand Oaks for 42 years. I've owned my home for almost 40 years. I have seen many things take place in the city. I have to say that in the last year, I have asked my grown children to be completely wary of going over to the Jan's Mall. And I'm not blaming just Hooters, but the consumption of liquor and also the drug selling and the increase in prostitutes walking around the area has become just horrifying to me, and I'm scared to take my kids there. Just last week, we had a woman being grabbed right out of her car in the parking lot. I'm afraid to walk into that parking lot now. I think that the problem here is that the city of Thousand Oaks is not listening to the people, the residents here. They did not want Hooters there. We had many people object, but it doesn't seem to do any good. And it's not whether they serve liquor or not, it's the fact that these things are fine in their area, but the Jan's Mall has become a really popular children's area. And the inconsistencies in the mall and in other areas, like for example in my own neighborhood, we have a liquor store. I mean, who decided that a liquor store should go right into a residential area? It was the undoing of our small business that we attempted to start there in our neighborhood. We opened up a small grocery store and were soon just wanting to run away. There were so many drug deals, pressure from the drinking that went on. It was just, we closed in 2 years. We sold it as fast as we could. And I think that the city planning should take into consideration what areas they're allowing these things to go into, and especially since the Jan's Mall is such a popular place for young families. And that's pretty much what I have to say, and I hope that the city will listen to us this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Roth, followed by Laurel Bourne.
Good job.
Good afternoon, hearing officer. Am I allowed to address any of the panel with a question?
No, just me.
Did you say
They
no?
will, you can address me, and then afterwards I'll go to staff, and they can respond to any of your concerns.
Okay, well, so I can address you with a question. Is there an increase in problems with restaurants or stores to sell hard liquor? Is there an increase in criminal problems or activities around those places? Is there an increase versus one that so just has a beer and wine license is my question to the police officer up there. This is not about rights. First of all, liquor licenses, like all licenses, are a privilege. They're not a right. And that's true of driving, that's true of anything, businesses and so on. The problem I have with giving out another liquor license is there are already more than enough vendors for liquor in that area. When I was speaking part of the type that's in question now, and that I don't see the need to grant another liquor license or to grant a license to another business to serve liquor when it's already quite well served. I don't have any problem with the beer and wine license, but I do think moving on to harder liquor will create more problems, and both for the police department and the citizens of our community. And that's pretty much what I have to say. And I hope that you have a nice day.
Thank you, you too. Laurel Boyne, followed by Ron Lee. By the way, it helps if in the future you print your names on the card so that hearing officer will have them.
Good afternoon. It's actually pronounced Goins, but that's okay. It's mispronounced all the time, no worries. I came by today to just express my approval for a liquor license for Hooters. I don't mean any disrespect to the people back there from Hooters. Being a chef, I've worked in restaurants for 10 years, and I don't care for the Hooters food myself. I can fry a chicken wing like nobody's business. I applaud somebody who can wear shorts that short, because boy, not me. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous that people have a problem with an ABC license being granted to this restaurant, considering that ever since I was much shorter, El Torito, right next door, had a liquor license, and they're not out of business. So if you want to look at it from the perspective of the last speaker, we're technically not granting another license, we're just moving one across the street. I believe, as the people from Hooters Incorporated have said, that this is actually a moral issue, which I find absolutely hilarious, because Sunset Terrace, as the lady who spoke earlier today is directly across from the movie theater, and I don't know if any of you have been in there lately, but the stuff they wear in there is very scary, and the food there is even worse. But anyway, I find it amazing that in this day and age we are trying to regulate morality in a roundabout sort of fashion. That is really what this comes down to. It doesn't come down to who has a margarita versus who has a glass of wine. You drink the same amount, you're going to get just as drunk, who cares? The fact that we really are taking up valuable city time when we could be focusing on other problems with this is amazing to me, and I find it fascinating to kind of watch these sort of things, because you can really see the way that the people lean and sway. Let Hooters have a full liquor license. The Dish has one, Sunset Terrace has one, They're not anywhere near where, I don't see the people who work at Hooters wandering around in the parking lot going, look at me, have a margarita, have a beer. They stay inside the restaurant and they do their work for which they get paid. And like I said, don't eat at Hooters, but the people who work there live in the community. For every dollar that we spend in our community, 70 cents stays here. So let's support our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker on this project is Ron Page.
Good afternoon, and I'm not going to be talking about the moral issues or the fact that how many calls the police had to make to Hooters. I'm looking at this as a community. My name is Ron Hagee. My family and I have lived in this community for the past 40 plus years. In order to conserve your time, which I know is valuable, I will not cite the abundant research behind my statements, but I've drawn from two major research organizations, the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation and the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism. I shall only target one negative and devastating result of expanding the on-site sale of alcohol beverages from beer and wine to full alcoholic beverage service at 401 North Moore Park Road. That one target is an increase in violence, because research tells us that neighborhoods where bars, restaurants, and other stores that sell alcohol are close together suffer more frequent incidences of violence. That's a fact. You can't deny that. The density of alcohol outlets has also been found to be related to other alcohol problems, such as drinking and driving when they leave, higher rates of motor vehicle-related pedestrian injuries, and child abuse and neglect. This obviously puts our many, many children seen at the mall at risk. This is also a very high traffic density area. Do we want to add drivers who are under the influence? In conclusion, I would remind you of the responsibility facing you. Each element of the regulatory system provides opportunities for creating a healthier social environment with respect to alcohol. Here's your opportunity to create a healthier environment for our families that shop at the Jan's Mall. Please deny the modification of the special use permit. Please keep our mall a safe family environment where we can bring our children and grandchildren to shop. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay, that's all we have for the speakers, so I would like to go back to city staff now and have comments or respond to some of the testimony.
I'd like to address one of the questions that came up regarding increased problems with crime. As a police department, we do keep statistics on the types of calls that come into our restaurants and bars. What you must understand is that it is the responsibility of the business to make sure that their employees are properly trained when they're serving alcohol, including checking IDs or calling the police when there's an incident that needs to be addressed. So when you're talking about each business is different on how they operate. I will tell you though that Hooters has a low calls for service for their type of business. Increases in violence. Based on the calls within the last year for Hooters, there have been no calls for violence at their location. Whereas Sunset Terrace and Cisco's is extremely higher. Sunset Terrace is right there outside the movie theater like what was quoted. And that's all I have.
I would like to ask a question from Mr. Lohan. Have you, in your opinion, is there a difference in service calls for establishments that only serve beer and wine versus full alcohol? Have you noticed a difference?
The question is they're both alcoholic drinks. Beer and wine is alcohol, and so is stills. They all are alcohol related, so no, we don't separate whether somebody is involved in an incident and they had a rum or whether they had beer and wine. We don't separate the two because it is all alcohol and it falls under the same umbrella.
But as far as service calls, do you look at the difference of between the establishments? If this establishment only serves beer and wine and versus one that serves full alcohol, or it's just all the same, alcohol is alcohol?
Well, it's all the same, but when we're considering these applications, we are looking for incidents where alcohol is a factor, whether it's disturbances, drunk in public, or drunk individuals at the bar. Those are all things that we will look at before we even allow somebody to either get a license or expand on their license. Because if there are issues, that's something that we're going to address.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Young, do you have any comments?
Yes, I'd just like to mention, there was a comment about procedure, why we aren't going directly to the council. And proper procedure for an objection to a minor mod would be to have an administrative hearing, and then if there's an appeal, go to the planning commission, and then if there's appeal of planning commission decision, then we would take that to the city council.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I'd like to also add that the only reason we're having this hearing in the chambers today is because of the expected number of people. We normally have it at a different room, which does not accommodate the number of people. So it may look like a planning commission or city council hearing, but it's not. That's why we're not televised, and we don't have the amenities that you would have at city council or planning commission level. Ms. Young, I have a question regarding similar establishments within, let's say, a half-mile radius. Are you aware that the city has turned down any alcohol request within the half-mile radius?
I'm not aware of any that have been denied.
Or are you aware of any revocation of permits due to issues and problems?
No.
Okay, thank you. For the record, I would like to add that we have 13 speaker cards, 8 pro, 5 con, and we received, 18 statement cards, 8 pro, 5 con, and we had 11 speaker cards, 7 pro, and 4 con. Okay. Now, I would like to go back to the applicant for rebuttal. We will have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. We are absolutely concerned about how the community feels, and I took a few notes while some of you folks were talking. One thing I'd like to say is that the closest residence is not within 500 feet, it's not within 700 feet. There was a comment about hard liquor and there being plenty of vendors. Maybe there's enough vendors for people to go get a drink, but when we had previously applied for our license with California ABC, it was found that there's not an oversaturation of licenses, and hence they were ready to grant said license. As to the comment about the liquor store nearby, driving business out, the only thing I can say to that is that that was just very poor management of said liquor store. If you're concerned about moral issues, I don't know if you all know this, but there is as I was walking in, I saw this, there is going to be a play called Spank here in Thousand Oaks, which is a parody on 50 Shades of Grey. If you don't know what that is, you might want to look it up. Keep your kids away from that. Liquor, beer, and wine, they are all the same thing. They all have an alcoholic impact on an individual, and they can all impair a person's ability to make good decisions. Simply, again, it goes back to the management of the establishment. As the officer said, we do stay inside the restaurant. We're not running around. We don't have girls running around James Marketplace. We are an out-parcel building. We are not directly attached to the mall itself. As to the research of statistics with service of alcohol, that's alcohol service, not distilled spirits. It includes beer and wine as well. It includes all those establishments. As far as those statistics go, if you were to research our company, Hooters LLC, you would find that we were absolutely the exception to that rule, and all those statistics I invite anybody to call 18 municipalities where you do business and talk to the chief of police or the ABC official there, and you'll find that's just a fact. We are very, very careful about what we do and how we do it, and we want the community to remain safe just as you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you state your name and last name?
Oh, yeah, I apologize. I'm Rick Loiker.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I will now close the hearing for a decision. I have carefully evaluated this project again for a second time. This is the second time we're hearing it. And I know this project is very important to everyone, and it's a sensitive topic for a lot of you. So I do appreciate your interest. However, as most of you know, today's hearing is not to discuss whether Hooters should be in business. It's only about the extension of the beer and wine license to full alcohol. The first time I heard this back in September, I was just like the rest of you. I was hoping that I was making the right decision. I feel more comfortable about it now since the restaurant has been open for about a year now, and I don't think we've had any problems. So since there hasn't been any problems, and beer and wine, as everyone said here, a lot of people said it's still considered alcohol. Alcohol is alcohol. So I'm glad to hear that we haven't had any trouble with Hooters since it's opened, and makes me that much more comfortable with my decision. So based on all we've heard today and staff's recommendation and recommended findings and conditions of approval, I move to approve SUMN 2013-70017. Any party who wishes to appeal this decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 calendar days. The fee for appealing the administrative decision to the Planning Commission is $1,150. Okay, Ms. Fadrul, can you please call the next case?
Hearing advertised as required by law, hereby open to consider agenda item case UPNN 2013-70007. Applicant, Flamingo Recreation and Park District, requests to allow the installation of carports with solar panels in the parking lot of the Thousand Oaks Community Center. Location 2525 North Moore Park Road.
Okay, thank you. I can have a moment to get organized here. Come back to mine. Ms. Young, could you please provide the report?
Yes. Before I start the report, I'd like to mention that condition number 15 has been revised. It should read, building materials, the carport column and box section shall be painted with Sherwin-Williams cushy suede with the number.
Okay, thank you. Which condition was that?
Number 15. Okay, the carports are proposed at the Thousand Oaks Community Park in the public parking lot adjacent to the community center. The structures will take up 4 parking rows, and the solar panels will be mounted on the roof of these structures. This will require removal of 4 landscape planters. However, there will be no removal of any parking spaces. The site was chosen because it was one of the 4 parks that had the highest electrical energy the applicant can explain the details of that, but the project is energy efficient and uses renewable energy sources and is good for the environment. Staff received one objection letter to the applicant's proposal, and this was based on the financial cost to the district. Staff recommends approval of the carports based on the findings and suggested conditions.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative. You'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Tom Hare, resident of Newberry Park, and work for the Camino Recreation and Park District. A little bit of history on this project. In January 2012, at a public Camino Rec and Park District Board meeting hearing, staff requested authorization from our board to solicit proposals through a request for proposal process to enter into a power purchase agreement with a potential proposer for solar power plants at 4 different sites. As Ms. Young noted, the 4 sites were chosen because they are the highest electrical users throughout the district, and they're spread throughout the district. We chose this one at Thousand Oaks Community Center, Orchard Community Center, Dos Vientos Community Center, and Camino Creek South. And if you notice, or if you're familiar with Thousand Oaks Community Center, Community Park, Orchard Community Park, Dos Vientos Community Park are very similar in that there's a building there, and then there's athletic fields with night lighting. So that's why they are the high users that we have in the district. And Camino Creek South is also a high user because of all these sports fields that we do have there with the lights. It was a competitive process that we went through, and based on the criteria that was set forth, we identified the top proposer, which was Solar World, and then staff negotiated a mutually beneficial power purchase agreement with Solar World. And then in the November 2012 public Camino Rec and Park District Board meeting, staff requested our board authorize our general manager to enter into a power purchase agreement with Solar World. So that passed our board, our general manager. We entered into what's commonly referred to as a PPA. And so then we started the entitlement process with the city of Thousand Oaks. But to answer any questions that the public may have before the city's official notice of application went out, we thought it would behoove us to have a community meeting with the residents who are surrounding those sites. So for this particular site at Thousand Oaks Community Park, we sent out notices to residents within 1,000 feet of the property line of the facility. In total, 554 notices were sent. We sent the notice about 10 days before our community meeting. We were all geared up, ready to have a great discussion with the folks and let them know what we were doing. One person came to the meeting. It was held on site. In general, the person it was well received and in concept, and she was very supportive, and she was just very interested in what was going on in the project. We did receive one email as a result of our mailing to the 554 folks from the property line, and it was this same individual who is in the record here for this hearing. With that, I'm going to now turn it over to our Camino Rec and Park District's partners in this process. I'm going to turn it over to Pete Shepard of Solar World, and then I'll come back and close.
Are you then doing a combination representing the Park District?
Yes.
For
Yeah,
15 minutes?
we're both representing the Park District, yes.
Okay, we'll go ahead and combine the 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So my name is Pete Shepard. I'm the manager of project development for Solar World, and we're based over in Canada. So we were one of the respondents to the RFP that went out from Camino Park and Rec District, and obviously the winning respondent. So I just wanted to quickly go over the project itself. What we're doing is we're creating these carports, solar carports, and really the benefits to the district are that we're reducing their electrical consumption by 80%. So they're going to get the majority of their electricity from these solar systems. We're reducing their dependence on fossil fuels, and it also actually protects will actually provide shade to those, so it's an additional benefit besides just the electricity. And then obviously last but not least is that the district will recognize an immediate and long-term savings for the term of the power purchase agreement. I just also wanted to address the risk side of this. So those are the benefits, and I think part of the concern with the person that wrote an email was the financial side of it. The power purchase agreement requires zero capital outlay from the district, and all it is basically the district is buying power from the ultimate financier of the project. So they're just paying for the electricity, and not only that, but they're paying for it at rates below that of Southern California Edison, which is the utility on site there. In addition to that, CRPD is not responsible for any of the operation and maintenance. And I guess finally, it also allows them to budget more accurately moving forward, because electricity is a large line item in their operational expenses. So just to kind of talk about why we designed the system the way that we did. So we're talking about a parking lot here. So this is an already disturbed piece of land. We're not building over green grass or anything like that. And these specific locations were chosen so that we could minimize the shading, so that we could increase the amount of sun that it would get, and also decrease the cost that would be associated with it, as opposed to putting it on roofs or spreading it all over the place. We had it in 2 rows. And like Ms. Young mentioned, we also are painting these to match the building colors and things like that. So that's pretty much it. I guess we're going to talk about the other project later. That's it. Thank you.
And just to wrap up, we feel that we worked pretty hard with the community and with the city planning staff to meet the conditions as we've gone through the process to provide a great project that will benefit the general public, not only at this location, but at other sites throughout the district. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Now it's time for other speakers. I have 3 speaker cards. First one is Clint Malkovich, followed by Doro Wine, and followed by Kidway. Please state your name, last name, and
Madam Hearing Officer, members of various staff departments, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Clint Malkovich. I'm a lifetime resident of Thousand Oaks. And I normally speak at CRPD meetings and city council meetings, so this is kind of a different format. It seems a lot more relaxed than what I'm used to. I'm speaking in favor of the solar panels for the Kennewick Recreation Park District. For those of you that followed the election last fall, I was one of your candidates for the board of directors for the Park District, and this is one of the things that I campaigned on. So I had school all day earlier, so I came down here to basically put my money where my mouth is. This is what I campaigned for. I think that we need this in the Park District. I think it's very important. As previous statements have declared, the proposal are going to be located, if approved, in existing parking lots. No wildlife is going to be disturbed. No plants are going to be disturbed. I wrote a letter a couple weeks ago in the Acorn in support of this matter. And for what it's worth, just speaking personally, my grandfather and my mother are from a Native American tribe in the Midwest, so I'm sensitive to Native issues and things of that matter. The administration, no matter whose side you're on, I'm not going to go there, and the Department of the Interior have, for the last few years, implemented several solar projects in our desert, which have impacted several Native tribes, sacred sites, religious sites, sites that are thousands of years old. This proposal doesn't do that. And I'm no disrespect to anybody, but it could be a lot worse. And I know that I'm going to offend people in the room, and I don't mean to, and I apologize, but I don't see The impact being as great as it's been stated, considering, like I said, the fact that it's in a parking lot. We're going to provide shade, it's going to be on top of those shaded areas. So as a resident of this community, I'm not part of any group, not part of any political party or anything like that. I think this is a great deal, and I hope that it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Laurel Williams, followed by Nick Kidwell.
Hello again. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I would just like to speak as a resident in the area around this park. We live over in the Jan's Road area in Waverly Heights. I didn't get it, but that's okay. Anyway, I go to that park quite often. I remember back when I was a kid that it used to be this huge area where there was a bunch of weeds and spiders, which I have arachnophobia, so I don't like there. But now it's a nice park where kids can go and play and you can go feed the ducks. Being a chef, I go to catch and eat the ducks, but that's also not allowed. And it's a nice place. But the one thing that it is missing, because it is such a nice south-facing park, is a way for us in the 21st century to offset some of our electrical use. And it is a perfect area for it. It's not an area where people are, in and out all the time, big cars drive by. It's a nice, quiet park that frankly you could use a little shaded parking. I would like to park my black car in the shade for sure. And we have solar in our home. It is a huge amount of electrical savings to us. I can only imagine what it would be for a place where you could get sun all day long as opposed to where we get just about 60% of the day due to the large trees in our area. As the gentleman before me said, there's no impact on changing a section of a parking lot because it's a parking lot. And there will be no impact on the wildlife. The birds don't care if they poop on a solar panel or poop on the light, they poop wherever they want. So I totally agree with this in both this area and all the areas that are under proposal. I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think that honestly it's a little long time coming for a city as advanced as Thousand Oaks reports itself to be. So I hope today that you'll approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kidwell.
Nick Kidwell, resident of Newberry Park, not those Vientos, but close by, since 1979. Honorable and distinguished hearing officer. I must say that I'm pretty low and disappointed and disgusted after the last hearing with the low turnout and the decision. I also would like to remind the chair that this community lost out on funding for the Newberry Park Library solar panels, and that was a hotly debated hearing, but because of the hearing at the time, it was delayed, and we lost on the funding from the state because of the delay. And if you go to the library, you can see that the parking lot is just deteriorated, and of course, we are paying the higher bills. The problem here, I believe, is that people in general, and I sell for a living, and selling basically means getting people to see something new and change. And that's what we are basically conditioned to go with what is the natural, common thing that we have grown up with. Also, the appearance seems to be, at first, not very pleasing or different. But we become used, if people think about it, to the solar panels on homes. 25, 30 years ago when they first came, if a neighbor bought it, people were really shocked and they were repulsed. But now we are used to it. But the real key important thing that we need to think about, in fact, give me a moment. We waste so much energy in this country. I turned this on, it was not operable, and nobody cared to turn it off.
Mr. Kidwell, we don't use overhead projectors for administrative hearings, so we're just being consistent with all the other ones.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is that we abuse quiet, and that's what it is. And that's what this boils down to, is that it's a more important thing for us to not be dependent on foreign oil, as well as it's a finite source, and the solar panel uses the sun's rays, and as much as we can do it, we might have to bite the bullet, it might not look good, but we really need to do it for ourselves and for future generation. And in closing, I would like to say, Chair, that you said that this is not being televised, but I've taken the opportunity to televise most of it, and it will be on YouTube, and I don't even remember I have a couple of names there, but if you Google, on YouTube, if you search in YouTube and under Thousand Oaks, Hooters, administrative hearings, and those Vientos, you will be able to find it if you need, especially for an appeal if there is one. Thank you. I really support these.
Thank you. Okay, I also wanted to put on record that we had 3 speaker cards, and I'm hoping that Mr. Tom here and Mr. Shepherd also filled out speaker cards and just never handed them in. So I will say 5 speaker cards. Okay, I'd like to go back to city staff for any comments.
No comments.
Applicant's representative, any rebuttal? I'm hearing no. Thank you. I will now close the hearing for a decision. I have carefully evaluated this project, and it seems like the Park District did an extensive community outreach for this project. I'm glad. So based on staff's recommended findings, I move to approve DPMN 2013-70007. And noting condition number 15, the change. Any party who wishes to appeal this decision may do so by filing an appeal to the Community Development Department within 10 calendar days. The fee for appealing the administrative hearing administrative decision to the Planning Commission is $1,150. Okay, moving on to the next case. Ms. Rodrigo, could you please call the next case?
Hearing advertised as required by law is hereby open to consider agenda item 2C regarding case DPMN 2013-70008, applicant Conejo Recreation Park District, request to allow installation of a carport with solar panels in the parking lot at Dos Vientos Community Park. Location 4801 Orchard Road.
Thank you. The planner for this project is Mr. Will Chua. Good afternoon, Mr. Chua. Can you please provide your next report?
Good afternoon, Ms. Behzadi. For your consideration again this afternoon is solar carport application. Before I proceed, I would like to...
The mic was not on, so could you please...
I apologize. For your consideration this afternoon is another solar carport that's similar to what was being proposed in the previous case. However, this is going to be occupying 2 rows instead of 4 rows of parking spaces. Before I proceed, I would like to point out that staff has received several emails which was forwarded to you after the staff report has been completed. And I have copies of the emails here if anybody's interested to see them. Like the other application, staff received letters or emails of opposition to this project. That's why we are required to conduct an administrative hearing. The Park District is proposing a carport that will be installed in front of the community center building over 2 rows of parking spaces that's adjacent to Villa Ricardo. The number of parking spaces will not be impacted. However, there are going to be several trees that will be removed. That's within the landscape planters where the carport will be overhanging. Basically, the opposition is based on aesthetics and the looks of the carport. One of them states that it's going to look like an industrial building or industrialized instead of looking like a park. Another opposition is based on the fact that the city did not do an EIR or an environmental impact report on this project. Now, to address the second issue, staff has found that this particular project is exempt under categorical exemption 1, class 1 of CEQA, class 3 of the same code, CEQA, and Public Resources Act. As far as the opposition based on aesthetics, staff has recommended and a condition has been imposed that the support columns for the carports be finished in stucco and painted beige to match that of the building in order to soften any potential visual impact that it may have. However, staff feels that there's not going to be a significant visual impact on this project because of the fact that there are several trees planted along the perimeter of the park where the carport visibility will be limited. And also, staff would like to recommend that condition number 18 be amended and read as follows. I apologize. Staff is suggesting to amend condition number 18, which shall state as follows: landscape and irrigation design compliance plan approval. All landscape and irrigation improvements shall be designed and installed in accordance with the city's guidelines and standards for landscape planting and irrigation provisions. A revised landscape plan for the park shall be submitted for review and approval by the Community Development Department and will indicate replacement tree sizes and locations. And with that, staff is recommending approval of the project based on the findings in the staff report and subject to the attached suggested conditions. I'm ready to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any questions at this time. I'd like to hear from the applicant.
Hi, I'm Tom Hare, with Canberra Park District, resident of Newbury Park. Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. Very similar story with the one we just heard. I'll just quickly go through it again. In January 2012, at a public CRPD board meeting, we requested authorization for proposals for solar carports at 4 different sites. The 4 different sites were chosen as they're the highest electricity users within the district. They are designated Community Center, Borgia Community Center, Thousand Community Center, and Canal Creek South. And as you remember, the 3 of them are very similar. They have community buildings within the community park, and they all have athletic fields with lights on them. Through the competitive process, we identified the top proposer with the Solar World. We negotiated a mutually beneficial power purchase agreement, and at the November 2012 public Canberra Park District Board meeting, we requested authorization for our general manager to enter into the power purchase agreement. And we started the process with the city, but before the official notice of application went out, we sent out letters to 492 folks within 1,000 feet of the property line of Dos Vientos Community Park. From that effort, 3 people attended the meeting. The meeting was held on the site. There were concerns regarding the aesthetics, adding the structure to the residential park, and blocking views, and can we look at other alternatives, which Mr. Shepherd will address, about usage of the parks, about turning the lights off earlier and not using the lights, etc. And we did receive 1 email from this effort that was in support of the project.
turn reduces the amount of fossil fuels used. Again, it does provide for shading on hot days, things like that. Financially, it provides an immediate benefit to the district. It also provides long-term savings over the 20 years of the PPA, the power purchase agreement. And I do know that part of the concern is with risk on their side. And again, this doesn't have any capital outlay, so they don't need to spend a dime other than just buying power for lower electricity rates. The district is not responsible for any maintenance or operation, and it allows them to budget a little bit better moving forward. So I did want to address a little bit more for this particular project, kind of the issues with the aesthetics that were talked about. We actually have some renderings over here that show kind of computer graphically inserted the system where it would be from various vantage points. So the one you can see right there, in fact, I have printouts if you want me to bring them to you, or
Sure.
yeah. Give you 11 by 17, 8.5 by 11. So while she's bringing those to you, the very closest point that you have from a sidewalk is 120 feet away, and that's on Borchard Road. And that's the very closest point. From Via Ricardo, it's 170 feet. So it's pretty good distance as far as that's concerned. These structures are at their highest point about 13 feet high. And if you compare that to the building that's there at Dos Vientos, which is kind of guesstimating, but roughly about 35 feet. So from a height perspective, it's considerably lower than the structure that's already there. And I think if you can see the fourth picture there, it shows kind of in comparison to the building that's already there and any potential obstruction of the views, it's very minimal. So one of the other issues was kind of what other alternatives do we look at? What other options do we investigate? So there's some questions about, do we look at putting it on the roof, or do we look at putting it, spreading it across many different areas? And we did look at all of those options. The reason that we didn't choose to do those were multiple. One is that there's simply not enough roof space at the Dos Vientos facility to adequately, really generate any meaningful amount of solar electricity. So we knew that we had to be in the parking lot, because it was like, we've talked about before, an already disturbed area. And the best way to do that to make the kind of, I think, most aesthetically pleasing carport, as well as the best economics for the project, were to create one large system, which, as Mr. Chua pointed out, will cover 2 rows of parking. And so that's all I got for now. So, I'll be back tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. In addition to our appreciation for all the support that we've had from many residents, as evidenced in the fact, we also do appreciate the concerns of those who are in opposition to this project. So that's why we try to work very closely with the city to meet their planning conditions and to provide a benefit for the public in general, and for at this location as well as the other 4 locations. So so between the community meetings and working with the planning conditions, we feel that we've done a good job of trying to work with the community. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to the other speakers now. We have about 7 speaker cards. So we'll start with Mr. Kidway, followed by Penny Wickering. I'm sorry if I'm butchering people's names.
Nick Kibani, Great Park. I just want to say ditto to my comments in the past. I don't really need to take more time.
Thank you. Jenny Waitling, followed by Harry Varrock.
many sports, so that being said, we end up at the park about 6 days a week. So the way I see solar carports is sort of a win-win. Aside from the fact that my garden and many others are going to get shaded, we're creating energy. And it's something that I want my kids to see that we're trying to help their future. So I approve the solar carports.
Thank you. Karen Barras, followed by Connie or Tammy.
Hearing officer, hello, my name is Harry Barrow. I am a Newbury Park resident since 2001. I'm a local pharmacist and a coach for a local soccer team as well. So I also speak as a solar panel owner and I'm obviously in support of this project. This is just the right thing to do. The environmental impact, the clean renewable energy that this provides just makes this kind of a common sense type of choice as far as I'm concerned. Now I need to look at how does this impact our future generations, and we've heard a little bit about concern on the impact on the view of the parking lot. And I would just say to those people, which I consider a small vocal minority, that they should change and look at the long-term view. What is the impact into the future for their kids and their kids' kids? This is our opportunity to create an environment that will give us a view of clean air moving forward, as opposed to having to pay the cost of not having renewable energy. And I just want to point out real quick, the cost savings cannot be understated. As a solar panel owner, I know firsthand how much money I save every month because I'm not paying the business rates to Edison. And here, CRPD has had significant budget issues, and it's directly impacting us and many of the families here because they are now charging for use of the fees, our fields, when we request permits. And part of that is because of the impact to the budget. Here we have an opportunity to save millions of dollars by a simple installation into a parking lot. So again, I'd like to conclude that I'm very much in support of this plan.
Thank you. Tammy Gibson, followed by Carl. I won't attempt it.
Hi, thank you, Madam Hearing Officer, for this opportunity and for your time listening. The proposal for solar carports at 4 community parks has stirred different opinions within our community, with much being said about being green. How green is this proposal really? The proposed panels will come with steel, combiner boxes, inverters, converters, lower current protectors, data acquisition systems, cause the removal of existing trees, approximately 17, and adds fluorescent lighting. Yes, more lights. Solar energy, while it does create fewer harmful air emissions than fossil fuel, is not without negative effects. The creation of solar panels produces carcinogens, disposal of solar panels releases harmful materials, and emits electromagnetic radiation when running. The obvious green solution is to decrease consumption, not add to it. This proposal requires our community to enter into a 25-year lease with a third-party company. We should ask ourselves if we can live with the same technology for 25 years. 25 years ago, many of our most admired technologies didn't exist. For example, the iPhone came in 2007, texting 1996, Google 1998, hybrids such as the Prius in 2000, LED lighting for homes in 2009, digital TV 2009, and the famous Xbox 360 in 2005. Alternate energy is one of the fastest growing areas. Surely more efficient options will present themselves before this 25-year lease expires, rendering this proposed system obsolete. The proposed technology is also apparently the source of a patent infringement lawsuit between SolarWorld and DuPont. We are being asked to place our trust not only in the technology, but also in a manufacturer, an out-of-state venture capitalist whose sole purpose is profit. I wonder who will audit the CRPD LLC. Who are the named officers within this company? I must wonder if the green is a reference to the financial benefits described by CRPD, rather than environmental one. As for Dos Vientos, how is that different from the other proposed sites? I believe it is very clear. One simply looks to the city's land use map or to Google Maps. Dos Vientos does not back up to 23, is not across from a commercially zoned area, is not next to a high school, but is the only park completely bordered by homes within a master planned community with guidelines. As a community, we must fully evaluate all aspects of this proposal, financial, environmental, and aesthetic. I believe that the solution to the excessive energy use at Dos Vientos Community Park is to flip the switch off, not add to the usage. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl, followed by Sally Clara.
Pretty sure I'm Carl. My last name is Booksenschutz. I'm a resident of Newbury Park, and I'm here to speak on behalf of myself, my family, and several of my neighbors who could not be present today, but have corresponded with me via email, asking that I voice their opinions in this regard. And first and foremost, I'd like to say that we're not against the idea of having solar panels put up, nor are we against the idea of having solar panels put up in our backyards in this particular Parks and Recreation compound. What we are opposed to is the aesthetics of the where they're being placed on a busy corner, and wonder if the idea of placing these further down Borshire Road in the parking lot adjacent to the tennis courts was considered, which is, in our opinion, more aesthetically pleasing, less invasive, I should say. And I would comment, none of us live right on that corner, so it's not a direct view. But as people who drive past that corner several times a day, that's one of our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally Clara, followed by Eileen Casanova.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We live in Dos Santos, and several of the things that were said sufficiently recorded with me as far as being opposed to the solar panels and always being supportive of them. One of them was just the idea of flipping off the switch. I don't know how many times you've been to baseball games down there. We've been at several. They go late, and to think about flipping the switch off on those kids, I just don't think that's right. I don't think that's the option that we're looking for right now, is to flip the switch off on them. I think that we live in a day and age where right now we talk a lot about a lot of budget cuts, a lot of cutting programs, and here we have an opportunity to do the exact opposite. And while we're doing that, we can set an example for our kids about putting our money where our mouth is and about letting our actions speak louder than our words. We talk about conserving energy, we try and teach our kids to take care of the planet, and this is something where we can do it and it can be seen. I think looking at this as an eyesore is exactly the opposite of what we should be doing. We should draw attention to it. As a homeowner, I think it adds value to our community to show that we are environmentally vested in our children's future. I think that it's something that's for the best of everybody. And something else that someone brought up as we were sitting there was talking about how landscaping has changed. And if you look at the landscaping around here, it's not the big lawns that require a lot of water. It's environmentally friendly landscaping, and it's beautiful. So I think we need to look at what's right and see the good in it versus trying to make it something that it's not. It doesn't need to be an eyesore any more than pavement is an eyesore. I think that as far as moving them over by the tennis courts, off the top of my head, the only reason I can think that that might not work is that people don't park there very often during baseball games because of the balls that are being hit out there, so that would be the reason. I don't know that it's on the highway consideration. I think coming down that hill into Dos Santos to see the solar panels there, to me, is just a sign that this is a community that cares for its future, cares for its kids, and is doing the right things first.
Thank you. And the last speaker is Eileen Casanova.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer, Mr. Chua, and the public who has sat through everything. I have a sheet which I have made an outline, and if I don't get through my 5 minutes, can one of my neighbors bring it to you so you can see it? If I don't get to address everything on it?
Normally, no, but I can go ahead and maybe fill out another speaker card and have it for you.
Well, Solar World's got a picture of, so I figured I can't go in.
Go ahead, let's see what we can get.
Okay. I first encountered solar panels in 1965 when I had to do an original report in my high school physics course on something not in the textbooks. That was 1965. It's almost 50 years since then. And this system of solar electricity has been with us for a long time. It's now old hat. The problems don't begin with disposal of the used panels. The panels are unsightly and an eyesore, to put it mildly, as cheap, unimaginative installation causes the eyesore. No one has come up with architect Frank Lloyd Wright's ideas of integrating these ugly panels into the existing structures and buildings. I propose several alternative plans before any solar goes into our parking lot or park. My ideas are very original and artistic, and suggestion for reduction of our dependence on our precious natural resources while preserving our gorgeous and priceless open space in Dos Vientos, and that includes the parking lot. We have an opportunity of a lifetime to effect change in a way that no one has done to this date. We need to maintain our open space. That includes the parking lots. They're beautiful. Before installing solar paneling in any park in Thousand Oaks, we need to do a reduction of electrical consumption in rec centers. What's that like mean?
It means you need to wrap it up.
Okay. My plan, which has not been even talked about yet, my favorite idea is to install pergolas around the rec center, which is closest to the electrical panel, so you don't have to even go to the parking lot. And we have a pergola already coming out the front, and it's very ranch style, and it's very classy, I think, and it's got some columns, and it looks like it could support those panels. I don't know, you have to do an analysis about that. And then go around the rec center, and I bet you would get the surface area, and you would get the aesthetics, and everybody would be happy, and I would withdraw my objection, and we would get solar panels, because it's a good idea, but we also need to reduce and turn out some lights. And can we schedule more baseball games during the daylight? That would help a lot, I think.
Yes.
That's a really major issue right here. Okay, so I tried to keep it under. Oh, I did it! 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, that was our last speaker, so I would like to go back to city staff for any comments.
Just one comment for Ms. Dixon's comment regarding removal of the trees. There will be, as I mentioned earlier, when I asked for the revision of a condition number 18, which requires the park district provide replacement trees for what has been removed. So there will be a net of 0 as far as removal of trees is concerned. Thank you.
Have you considered maybe with the park district additional trees along Orchard, maybe to soften the visual impact?
That has not been discussed with Mr. Hare. However, if he's coming back, the city is requiring him to provide us a landscape plan anyway, so we would recommend to them to install trees where it's going to be strategically located to further reduce the visual impact of the carports, if any.
Okay. Also, are any parking stalls being eliminated as a result?
No, there are no parking spaces that will be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, Officer, if I may, Patrick, the City Attorney's Office. I just want to add one more thing. Mr. Chua, in his initial presentation, mentioned a number of categorical exemptions to a sequence analysis. And just to be clear for the record, there's a Class 1 exemption, a Class 3 exemption, and he spoke about the Public Resources Code. That section is actually 21080.35, The reason why that's important to state is because in December of 2011, the state adopted a new code, and this code went into effect in January of 2012. And that code has specific exemptions for solar panels that are put onto, for example, parking lots. And the reason why this tree issue is an issue, if there's no net loss of trees, that exemption goes into place. So that is a very significant state exemption that they have put into place as of January of 2012. Again, it's Public Resources Code 21080.35. That's along with the class exemptions of Class 1 and Class 3 under CEQA.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to ask the applicant to come up for some rebuttal time.
Thanks, man. Very much. We're kind of tag team this and have a few comments from Mr. Shepherd. To address the comments about decreasing consumption, I mean, that's what we're about, period, is decreasing consumption. Whether it's water, electricity, we always seek ways throughout the whole district to decrease consumption. We're very wary of what we do and how we do it, and try our best to keep the cost low as possible. But as you well know, and as I think as the public well knows, with whether it's utility rates, whether it's water rates or electricity rates, are forever increasing. And that's why we wanted to look into this renewable energy and receive a lower rate. That's why we went into this power purchase agreement. And to get into that, one of the speakers did mention about the financials of the power purchase agreement. I don't really want to get too into the weeds of that. I mean, I can't remember how many pages, but it's a lot of pages. It's available online for discussion. And I'm more than happy to, if any of the speakers here that are interested, to meet with them and talking about the financials of the deal, or forward on the board meeting agenda item that we had in the power purchase agreement. But in short summary, someone had asked about the 25-year commitment that the Park District is entering into solar world. There are, as with almost all contracts, there are termination language in there where we can terminate or they can terminate based on different conditions that can happen. One of the concerns we had when we met with Solar World was just that. That we know that electricity rates are, for lack of a better word, increasing faster than the solar rates. So we said, well, what happens if they go the other way? And then in a sense, the solar panels become worthless. And so then it's a fair market value thing, and they're worthless, so they would have to take them, solar would have to take them away at their expense, and it wouldn't cost us anything. So there is a 25-year, not necessarily commitment, but a 25-year term. And also just wanted to say one more thing about we do have a provision in the power purchase agreement to provide educational kiosks at the managed facilities at Orchard, Thousand Oaks, and Dos Vientos, so that way we can educate the public about what we're doing and how much money we're saving and how it all works. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Shepherd here to talk a little bit about the more technical aspects.
Do I have 15 seconds?
Go ahead and continue.
All right. Well, I just wanted to address some of the issues of. Thank you. I just wanted to address some of the issues of the electromagnetic frequency concerns. We have had our, the equipment that's being used, the inverters and the solar panels, they have been tested to meet full FCC guidelines as far as any kind of radio frequency emissions, things like that. So it's from a safety hazard, not an issue. And as far as the carcinogens in the solar panels, the technology that we use actually has no carcinogens whatsoever. It's basically sand and glass. So there's not a lot of concern there as well. We are one of the only companies out there that actually does an end-of-life recycling for our product. So when our product is at the end of its term, we'll actually take it back and recycle it. So it's not like it's going to the landfill and leaking out chemicals or anything like that. And then finally, I did want to address kind of the alternative options as far as the other parking lot to the south. We did look at that. One of the main reasons that we did do that is because we're trying to tie in close to the point of interconnection, and that's where the utility grid meets the usage actually on site. There's a utility meter there, and that was prohibitively long to trench that and run the copper conduit down there. So that's why we chose to put it where it is. Thank you.
Yeah, and then just another point, I think, what Mr. Chua is bringing up, we would be more than willing to work with Mr. Chua and for additional plan conditions about softening the view from.
That would be great. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, one last thing. The idea of putting it around the center, we have looked there, and again, there's no existing structures there that can make a meaningful impact on the project.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I will now go ahead and close the hearing. After careful consideration of this project as well, and based on staff recommended findings, I move to approve DPMN 70008. Any party who wishes to appeal this decision may do so by filing an appeal with the Community Development Department within 10 calendar days. The fee for the appeal is to the Planning Commission is $1,115. Thank you. This concludes administrative hearing of April 10, 2013.